guys. So, Sports Illustrated released a report this morning basically saying that if Odell Beckham were to get traded this offseason, right, after free agency, during the draft, post draft, whatever, if you were to get traded this offseason, Odell would prefer the New York Jets as his number one ideal landing destination. Okay. Now, by the way, it's Sports Illustrated. It's a pretty credible source. Everybody knows Sports Illustrated, the magazine company, whatever. And yes, we do have to take it with a grain of salt because where's this information being gathered? Who's actually reporting this news? Is it just a storyline? Because Cleveland seems to be as dysfunctional as the New York Jets are, with just leaks coming out left and right. I feel like there's a leak or a rumor or a report every single week with either of these two teams. So we'll see if this is actually true. But based off of Odell's resume last season or some of his actions, yelling trade me to opposing teams, kind of being all buddy buddies with all these different players on every other team, but when it comes to the Browns, it just looked like he was completely miserable on the sidelines in post-game pressers, in practice and stuff like that. Same kind of deal with Jarvis Landry, and yes, you can kind of tie that to the team's constant disappointment, the losses. Freddie Kitchens did not know what he was doing. So all these different things kind of branch off and kind of are all intertwined, if you will. But I think at the end of the day, this report is relevant because if you guys remember, I think it was a couple months ago, there was something kind of swirling around saying that Odell wants to return to New York. Didn't really specify the Jets, didn't really specify the Giants, the Guardians, just kidding. But in all seriousness, Odell is not a top 5 wide receiver anymore. Can he be? Can he return to top 5 status? Yes, I do believe so. But is he a top 5 guy right now? I don't think so. Okay, I don't think so. And I was kind of going through Jets Twitter, trying to gauge the level of, just try to gauge the reaction. And it was crazy because there were literally so many fans saying, the Jets need to pull the trigger today. If he wants to come to the Jets, we need to get him right now. Like, not in an hour, not in 30 minutes, right now. Dial up a trade, Joe Douglas, get the Browns on the phone. And then there were other fans saying, absolutely not. There is no way that the Jets should be rolling the dice on a disgruntled potential superstar in Odell Beckham Jr. There's no way it would set the franchise back. There's too many cons. There's too many red flags. Too much baggage when it comes to Odell. I could see both sides of it, and we're going to get into my 2 cents, my overall thoughts, but first, I want to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section. Do you want Odell? Do you think he would be a major upgrade, and he's worth the draft or the assets that the Jets would give up to Cleveland to go acquire him, or would you just stay away? Or do you think this report's just, something for the media just to talk about, and just, I don't know, give the fans hope, or just something to talk about, whatever. Here's my thoughts. Here are my two cents. When it comes to Odell Beckham Jr., I've never been the biggest fan. I've always, and I understand wide receivers like the diva position, right? And you could even see it in guys like Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs, who weren't really divas early on in their career. They're starting to kind of talk a little bit more, be a little bit more active on social media, say things. I don't want to say or use the word explicitly in this context, but just they're a little bit more open with what they say to the media, with what they say to the fans. And I get that. I get that completely. Jarvis Landry, kind of a diva. DeAndre Hopkins, a little bit. Didn't really start that way, but he kind of is starting to talk a little bit more. Really outside of Julio Jones, I mean, there's not a lot of wide receivers that are just kind of like by the book, like Calvin Johnson was always that way. He never was really a big talker. And I'm not really associating that diva mentality as a negative. So I understand it from that point of view, but I feel like at the end of the day, if the Jets were to acquire Odell, he'd be coming in at a major position of need. Everybody watched the Jets offense last season, and whether you want to say, oh, it was the O-line's fault or it was Sam Darnold's fault, it was Darnold getting mono, it was Adam Gase's fault, Dowell Loggins, Le'Veon Bell sucks, whatever you want to say. Quincy Newman wasn't there. Maybe a combination of every single one of those points. The Jets offense was horrendous. It was god-awful. It was disgusting to watch. if you add a player like Odell Beckham Jr. to the Jets offense, they instantly get better. They get more explosive, and they get just more pop on the outside. I feel like outside of Robbie Anderson, the Jets they have nobody. And Robbie Anderson set at the free agency market in a month, less than a month. Robbie Anderson cannot even be a Jet. I do not want to rely on Demaryius Thomas, who's like 50 years old. That's not ideal for a number one wide receiver heading into a season. And granted, we still have the draft. We could go Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb, whatever. Sign one of these, sign an AJ Green, whatever. But as of right now, the Jets have the wide receiving room is completely desolate as of right now. There are some guys I like, Braxton Berrios, but he's not going to be the number one guy. Robbie Anderson, like I said, set to hit the market. I don't think Quincy's going to be back. So it's thin, right? It's an extremely thin position. If we were to get Odell in the building, instant upgrade, it automatically plants a seed in every single defensive coordinator's head. Hey, this is a guy we have to watch out for. Hey, this is a guy we have to game plan for. We can't just let him do whatever he wants because he's just going to torch cornerbacks. Obviously, if Sam could get him the football, and Sam needs to get him the football he can't be on the ground doing that. So it kind of is a collective effort here, but you guys know what I'm saying. So even with that in mind, I don't think it's worth it to go out and get Odell. I'm not saying if we were to go out and acquire him, I would be mad or upset or I'd be throwing a tantrum or anything like that. I would support it. I would be pumped up because, hey, we're getting a potential superstar here, a former top 5 wide receiver. That's big time. Okay, that's big time. But he comes with baggage, like I kind of addressed earlier on in the video. In my personal opinion, I think, I look at him with the New York Giants, and that's kind of where it started. He's now, I don't want to say failed, but he's been with 2 different teams and has had multiple problems with 2 different teams, 2 different quarterbacks, and both quarterbacks, by the way, are completely opposite, right? One was old and kind of by the book and couldn't be any more of a nicer guy, pocket passer, just stand in the pocket. Just at the end of his career, Eli Manning didn't really say much. Tried to get Odell Beckham the football, and then you had Baker Mayfield, a young guy, number 1 pick, coming in the building, going into year 2 with a brand new coach, kind of really, really arrogant, really, really cocky, really confident, and kind of sprays the football all across the field. A lot more mobile than Eli is, or was rather. But now, and you're still looking at Odell. Odell's numbers tanked, right? They completely tanked. And yeah, you can say Freddie Kitchens was horrendous too, and that the Browns had so many different options and they are a fantastic running team. But you still look at the off the field issues with Odell, and this is the thing that it just has been with Odell for his entire career, which is off the field issues, whether it's like the proposing to the net, whatever, the kicking net, throwing tantrums on the sidelines, the whole thing with Josh Norman, not getting along with quarterbacks, freaking out in the tunnels, like crying and screaming and stuff like that, just arguing with coaches, arguing with players. You know, this whole thing last season, and I know I touched on it before, of him yelling, "Come get me," to opposing sidelines, and, basically just saying how much he hates being in Cleveland, right? Not saying that verbatim, but reading between the lines. He doesn't like to be there. Just completely depressed, because the numbers aren't really there and the Browns weren't really winning games. But he's just a guy that I feel like gets in his head a lot, and it's just a lot, right? If the Jets win the game, right, 17-0, but he has 1 catch for 4 yards, is he going to throw a tantrum? Is he going to say something about Sam Darnold? Is he going to throw Gase under the bus? Is he going to just retract into a shell and not associate with the team? If we rattle off 4 straight wins, or if we go winless for 4 weeks and he's not getting the ball, is he going to cause issues? Is he going to run to the media? Now, I will say he has experience playing in New York. Obviously, all eyes are on players that play in New York. Media, fans, whatever. It's just the city. It's just the energy, the area that we play in. They play in, rather. But I feel like it's not worth the risk. I feel like it's not worth the risk at all. I feel like if we want a number 1 wide receiver that bad, then go take Lamb. Then go take Jeudy. go target wide receivers in the second round, like possibly Michael Pittman out of USC, who I think is going to keep on rising, as the draft approaches. T. Higgins, I think, is a solid player. I know there's a couple other good, solid free agent wide receivers. Emmanuel Sanders, I feel like could be a nice fit in Gase's offense. Older, 31, but still effective. And also, another thing that we'd have to take into consideration would be the money that we owe him. Granted, we have enough to pay him, but now we're taking on a pretty big cap hit. And on top of that, we have to give something up to Cleveland to get him. I don't think Cleveland's going to ship him out of town for a 5th-round pick. I don't think that's happening. I don't think they're going to ship him out of town for a 4th-round pick, even a 3rd-round pick. I think the Browns, if Beckham's going to be on the move, I feel as though it might cost a 1st, it might cost a 2nd-round pick, it might cost a solid player. I'm not in the business as a Jets fan right now to be giving up those kinds of assets, really valuable things, for a roll of the dice, for a potential, lightning in a bottle kind of thing. That's just me. I know I'm going to have some people that disagree, and that's completely okay because I do see both sides of it. But yeah, let me know. That's just kind of my overall thoughts, and thanks so much for watching, and as always, go Jets.